There is a quiet moment at the end of each day when the body begins to whisper. It's not the kind of whisper you hear with your ears, but one that hums beneath the surface of the skin, a reminder that something sacred is always taking place inside you. When the lights dim and the noise of the world fades, the body begins its nightly conversation with the soul. And if you listen closely, you can hear it, the soft rhythm of renewal, the murmur of the blood, the language of cells awakening from their silence. It is in this sacred hour, after 50 years of life and memory, that the body calls out for restoration. Not through medicine, not through force, but through remembrance. For centuries, healers of the night spoke of a ritual, a practice that cleanses the spirit and renews the flesh while the world sleeps. They believed that the hours between dusk and dawn were not merely hours of rest, but of transformation. As the sun set, the earth would exhale. Energy shifted, and what was hidden in daylight came alive in darkness. The ancients called this the cycle of return, when all living things released what they no longer needed and received what they had forgotten to ask for. Science today calls it detoxification. But long before the word existed, the elders simply called it purification. They knew that water, salt, breath, and faith could work together to cleanse not just the body, but the unseen layers of being, the emotions trapped in the muscles, the memories stored in the heart, the heaviness that no medicine could lift. And they spoke of a moment, a window between wakefulness and sleep, when the human body became most receptive to this sacred exchange. In small mountain villages of the East, where time moves slower than thought, the old masters taught that the body at night becomes a temple. Every organ, every cell, begins a pilgrimage toward renewal. The liver cleanses the blood, the lungs release what they held, the skin opens its invisible doors, and through it all, the soul listens for what it once knew and has nearly forgotten, that healing begins not with doing, but with surrender. Modern life has hidden this rhythm beneath electric light and constant noise. We rush, we feed the mind endlessly, but we rarely feed the silence within. Yet silence, they said, was the first medicine. When the body is still and the breath deepens, energy returns to its source. The ancients believed this energy, subtle, luminous, invisible, is what holds the body together. In Sanskrit, they called it prana. In Hebrew, ruach. In Greece, pneuma. Different words, one meaning. The breath of life that moves through all things. At 50, the body begins to speak more honestly. It tells you when it's tired. It tells you when it's been ignored. The metabolism slows, the joints ache, the nights grow restless. But what if these were not signs of aging, but signs of the body asking to return to its natural rhythm? What if this discomfort were not decay, but a sacred signal? A reminder that your body, like the moon, follows cycles, and that to renew one must first remember how to let go. The old healers used to say that after sunset, the human spirit opens like a flower. The nervous system softens. The walls of thought crumble. And in this softness, healing becomes possible. They spoke of the night water, a simple bowl of water placed by the bed. To the ordinary eye, it was only water, but to them it was a mirror of the soul. Before sleep, they would whisper into it the emotions of the day, the sorrow, the fear, the gratitude, and by morning, the water would be poured onto the earth, returning what was heavy to the soil that could transform it. They believed that this act of surrender allowed the body to enter sleep unburdened and to heal more deeply. When science discovered that water changes structure with sound, with words, with emotion, it was merely confirming what the elders had always known. Dr. Masaru Emoto called it the memory of water. The ancients called it the witness. Water, they said, remembers everything it touches, and in the ritual of night it becomes both witness and purifier, recording, then releasing the stories the body can no longer carry. You might think of this as superstition, but science itself has begun to notice that emotions change biochemistry, that faith alters brain waves, that intention reshapes the molecular dance inside us. What if the true difference between sickness and health was not only in what we eat or do, but in what we believe? In monasteries hidden among the Himalayas, monks practiced a ritual before sleep. They would light a small flame, not for light, but for focus. They would sit before a bowl of salt water and breathe slowly, exhaling through the nose, releasing the day with each breath. They whispered blessings over the water, speaking forgiveness, gratitude, and peace. Then, with the back of the hand, they would sprinkle a few drops on the heart, the forehead, and the soles of the feet. So that the body may remember its path, they would say. Those who observed them noticed something remarkable. Their hearts remained strong well into old age. Their sleep was deep and unbroken. Their skin retained a radiance that no cream could explain. But when asked for the secret, the monks only smiled. "We do not heal the body," one said. "We remind it that it knows how to heal." Tonight, as the moon rises, the same possibility stands before you. Healing is not distant. It does not belong to temples or laboratories. It belongs to the rhythm of your own breath. It begins the moment you decide to listen, not to the world but to the ancient music playing within your cells. Every night, your body prepares for a journey. Cells open like doors, hormones shift like tides, the body lowers its temperature, slows its pulse, and begins the sacred work of repair. But it can only do this fully when you step aside, when your mind no longer interferes with the divine intelligence flowing through your veins. That is why the ancients called sleep the small death. It was not death in the fearful sense, but in the sacred sense, a temporary surrender of control, a return to the original current that sustains all life. At 50, many people fear decline. But what if aging itself were only the body's way of inviting you to remember the ritual of restoration? What if, rather than resisting it, you allowed it to become your teacher? The lines on your face, the weight of your bones, the rhythm of your breath, they are not signs of loss. They are sacred signatures of life experienced. The body is not failing, it is asking to be heard differently. There is a forgotten truth whispered in the ancient schools of healing. The body heals most when the heart is at peace, and peace cannot be taken, only cultivated. The monk said that peace is born in the breath between thoughts, that brief, invisible space where nothing is demanded, nothing is expected, and everything simply is. In that space, the divine enters. When you drink a small glass of warm water before bed, simple, pure, you're not just hydrating the body, you're participating in an ancient conversation between elements. Water carries your intention through every vessel, every organ. It washes the pathways that life depends on. Combined with the stillness of night, it becomes the silent messenger of renewal. This is the beginning of the night ritual, a return to simplicity, a remembering that the body, when loved and listened to, responds with miracles. The ritual does not demand complex ingredients or foreign herbs. It asks only for presence, for faith, for the willingness to pause before sleep and offer gratitude for the gift of another day, to forgive, to release, to trust that the intelligence of life still flows within you. In the dark hours while you sleep, 1,000 tiny miracles unfold, cells regenerate, blood cleanses, the heart recalibrates. Dreams speak the language of the soul, and though you may not see it, every act of surrender strengthens the light within. The ancients believed that those who performed the night ritual glowed faintly in the dark, not with light of the eyes, but with the subtle radiance of peace. Perhaps this was never myth, perhaps it was truth waiting to be remembered, because when you align with the rhythm of night, something shifts. The pulse slows, the breath deepens, the spirit begins to hum in harmony with the unseen forces of nature. You are no longer fighting time, you are flowing with eternity. So, as the world grows quiet and the stars begin their ancient watch, remember this: every night is a sacred invitation. You are being asked to return to the simplicity of breath, to the purity of water, to the humility of gratitude. You are being asked to trust that your body knows what it is doing, that the same intelligence which heals a wound, which grows a tree, which births the dawn, lives within you still. And when you honor that intelligence with stillness, with faith, with ritual, you awaken the forgotten power that once guided every healer, every sage, every monk. The power that heals without medicine, the power that remembers what the mind forgets. Tonight, the journey begins not with action, but with stillness, not with learning, but with remembering. As you close your eyes, feel the breath move in and out, like the tides of a quiet sea. Feel your body begin to release the day. And somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, you will feel it, that subtle, luminous current, the whisper of the divine reminding you. Healing is not something you chase, it is something you allow. And that is where the night begins its sacred work. There is a truth that has followed humanity since the first dawn, spoken in temples, whispered by the wind, written in no book but preserved in the quiet knowing of the heart. The body does not age in years, it ages in disconnection. Every line, every ache, every sleepless night after 50 is not punishment. It is the echo of forgetting the old covenant between man and nature. The ancients lived by a rhythm that the modern world no longer hears, a rhythm that began not at sunrise but at twilight. When the spirit of the earth stirred the waters, the light softened, and every living being was invited into the sacred exchange between release and renewal. In forgotten scrolls found near the Dead Sea, scholars uncovered fragments of a nightly prayer believed to have been spoken by the Essenes, a group who devoted their lives to purity of body and spirit. The prayer began not with words of request, but with words of cleansing. May the darkness draw out what the light has revealed. They understood what few do now, that healing begins not with addition, but with subtraction. To restore what has been lost, one must first release what was never meant to be carried. Every ancient culture had its version of this truth. The Hebrews washed their feet before entering prayer, symbolizing the release of the day's dust. The Japanese performed misogi, standing beneath cold waterfalls to cleanse the spirit. The Egyptians used salt and oil in sacred baths, believing salt to be the crystallized tears of the gods, capable of absorbing pain and fear. And though continents separated them, each ritual shared the same essence. Healing was not about escape, it was about remembrance. Modern science now measures what mystics once intuited. As night falls, the body begins a cascade of restoration. Hormones shift, cellular repair begins. Toxins are drawn from the tissues. The pineal gland releases melatonin, guiding the body into a state of surrender, while the parasympathetic system takes command, slowing the rhythm of life to its most peaceful state. Yet, the ancients would smile at these descriptions, for they already knew. They did not call it melatonin, they called it the oil of the soul. They believed that within the brain there existed a sacred secretion that only flowed when the heart was pure and the mind quiet. In their language, this oil was a bridge between heaven and flesh. It carried messages from the divine through the river of the body. It was said that when one lived in harmony with nature, eating light foods, drinking living water, thinking thoughts of peace, the body would become a vessel of light. The nights would be deep, the dreams vivid, the mornings clear. But when the rhythm was lost and through anger, excess, or fear, the oil would thicken, the sleep would grow restless, and the body would forget its purpose. There is an ancient phrase, written in Aramaic, etched faintly into the wall of a ruined monastery. When salt and water meet in the presence of faith, the body remembers its origin. No one has fully translated its meaning, but its essence is clear. Healing is not invention, it is reunion. Salt, water, and faith, the three substances of life, each representing one realm, body, element, and spirit. Salt, the body of the earth. Water, the breath of movement. Faith, the invisible fire that gives them purpose. When joined, they form the foundation of the night ritual. Imagine the simplicity of it. Before sleep, a bowl of warm water infused with a pinch of natural salt. Hands dipped in, eyes closed. A few slow breaths. The salt pulls out the density of the day, the fatigue of thought, the silent burdens that cling to the skin. Water, receptive and alive, absorbs it all. And faith, the silent current of intention, turns this ordinary act into alchemy. It may sound poetic, but consider this. Salt ions balance the body's electrical charge. Water carries frequency. The heart generates a magnetic field that extends beyond the skin. In that invisible field, intention, thought charged with emotion, has measurable influence. Science calls it coherence. The ancients called it prayer. For them, faith was not belief without proof. It was harmony without doubt. They taught that when the body, mind, and heart vibrated in alignment, the divine entered easily. That is why every healing began with stillness, every ritual with gratitude, because only a grateful heart opens the gates of restoration. There are accounts from the early Christian mystics describing a ritual practiced by the Desert Fathers. Each evening, before the final prayer, they would anoint their hands with water and salt, then touch their forehead and chest. May the mind be clear, may the heart be light, may the night be holy. They would sleep in silence, facing the east, so that when dawn arrived, the first light would greet their faces as a blessing. Those who visited them often reported an unusual calm in their presence, as if their very breath carried peace. In the East, Taoist masters believed that the night hours between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. were governed by the liver, the organ of purification and emotion. They said that those who carried resentment or grief often woke during these hours. To them, insomnia was not an illness, but a message. The soul, they said, cannot rest when the heart holds on. Their nightly ritual was to drink warm water with a drop of lemon, the essence of light, believing that the sourness cut through stagnant emotion, awakening the liver's energy. They understood what medicine now confirms. The liver processes not just toxins but emotion. Each thought, each unspoken fear leaves a chemical trace. Anger thickens the blood, grief slows metabolism, but love, gratitude, and forgiveness restore balance. That is why the night ritual was sacred. It aligned the chemistry of the body with the harmony of the soul. In Egypt, where the Nile mirrored the stars, healers performed the rite of renewal at moonrise. They believed that the moonlight, cool, silvery, gentle, carried the frequencies of rejuvenation. Patients were asked to step barefoot into shallow water mixed with salt, while priests chanted in tones that matched the cycles of the planets. Modern researchers might call this resonance therapy, but the priest said something simpler. We sing the body back into rhythm. Even the ancient Hebrews practiced a similar form of alignment. Before entering the temple, they immersed themselves in mikveh, living water drawn from natural springs. They believed that water not touched by human hands retained divine memory. It cleansed not only the flesh but the spirit. They taught that when water flowed freely, it reminded the body that it too must flow. That stagnation was the beginning of all disease. So when we speak of a night ritual, we are not inventing something new. We are remembering what the body already knows, that renewal begins with release, and release begins with reverence. The reason modern medicine cannot explain why some people heal against all odds, why wounds close faster under prayer, why aging slows in those who live with faith, is because science measures what it can see, but faith measures what is unseen. Yet both describe the same phenomenon, coherence between energy and matter, spirit and form. Perhaps this is what the ancients meant by restoring the temple. The temple was never a building. It was the human body, the living house of divine intelligence. Every night the temple must be cleansed. Every night the inner altar must be rekindled with gratitude. And when this is done with intention, the temple shines. In modern words, this might be called cellular communication. Each cell has a membrane that responds to subtle frequencies, emotion, sound, light. When the mind is calm and the heart is at peace, these membranes open like petals. Nutrients flow in, toxins flow out, regeneration accelerates. But when the body is under stress, when thoughts of fear, guilt, or anger flood the system, the membranes tighten, blocking renewal. The ancients didn't need microscopes to know this. They observed life itself and saw the pattern. So they taught the simplest medicine, peace. At night, they said, peace was the great purifier. It required nothing but surrender. Lay down your burdens as the sun lays down its light, a Persian healer once wrote. For the darkness is not your enemy. It is the womb of rebirth. This is the revelation of the night ritual, that healing does not happen because we force it, but because we remember the sacred rhythm of existence. Just as the ocean ebbs and flows, just as the stars appear and fade, so too does the body require its tides of letting go and receiving. And in the quiet hours, when the world forgets to listen, your body still remembers. The heart beats in ancient time. The cells hum with the music of creation. The water within you mirrors the moon above. Salt moves through your veins like the ocean through its shorelines. You are not separate from the elements. You are their continuation. When you begin to see yourself this way, not as a mechanical body but as a living river of energy, the ritual takes on new meaning. Washing the hands, breathing slowly, whispering gratitude before sleep. These are not symbolic gestures. They are activations. Each act tells the body, you are safe now. You may heal. And so the night becomes sacred once more. When the ancients looked to the stars, they saw reflection, not distance. As above, so below, they said, meaning that whatever occurs in the heavens has its mirror in the human form. The rhythm of the moon influences the rhythm of the body. The waxing builds energy, the waning releases it. That is why the night ritual was often aligned with lunar cycles. On the full moon they would focus on gratitude, on the new moon on release. This is not mythology. Studies now show that the moon affects sleep cycles, hormone production, even heart rate variability. But the ancients didn't measure, they felt. And what they felt was harmony, the invisible thread connecting all things. So when you prepare for sleep tonight, remember this revelation. Every ritual, every breath, every drop of water is a dialogue between your soul and the universe. You are not healing alone. The earth, the air, the stars, they participate with you. And in that moment when you dip your hands into the bowl, when you whisper gratitude into the quiet, something shifts. Not outside, but within. The cells listen, the water remembers, the heart opens. And you, the eternal traveler, begin to awaken to what you have always been. Not flesh aging through time, but spirit remembering its light. There comes a moment in every seeker's life when understanding is no longer enough. Knowledge, no matter how sacred, must be lived, breathed, felt through every cell of the body. The ancients knew this well. To them, transformation did not begin with rituals alone, but with the moment the heart finally surrendered to its own truth. And so, in the middle of the night, beneath the silence that drapes the world in stillness, the true healing begins, not with words, not with will, but with surrender. They said that the night was not only for rest, but for return. The body returns to balance, the spirit returns to peace, and the soul returns to its origin, to that pure, luminous essence untouched by time. And it is in this sacred return that something extraordinary unfolds. The heart, which carries every joy and wound of a lifetime, begins to breathe differently. The pulse slows, the breath deepens. The body no longer defends itself against the world. It opens. For decades, we live as if we must hold everything together, our responsibilities, our memories, our fears. But holding too tightly drains the life from within. The monks of the East taught that the greatest strength is not found in control, but in release. They practiced a ritual of exhalation before rest. Sitting in the dark, they would breathe in slowly, imagining light entering the crown of the head, and exhale through the heart, imagining the light flowing out into the world. In time, their breath became prayer, each inhalation an acceptance of life, each exhalation an offering of peace. They believed that breath carries memory, that through every breath the body releases what the soul no longer needs, and so they made the breath sacred. They said that when one breathes consciously at night, one opens a hidden gate within the body, the gate of renewal. They called it, through which the divine light descends into the bloodstream, awakening the cells from their long forgetfulness. In those ancient monasteries, transformation was not a miracle granted to a few, but a birthright of all. We do not chase healing, one elder said. We become it. The night ritual was their pathway toward that becoming. An alchemy of water, salt, breath, and prayer that dissolved the boundaries between body and spirit. The transformation begins in simplicity. A bowl of warm water before bed, a pinch of salt, a drop of lemon. These are not symbols, but conduits. Salt purifies. It draws out what is stagnant. Lemon carries light. It refreshes the spirit. And water, and the eternal witness, receives it all. When one dips the hands into that mixture and breathes deeply, the elements merge with intention, forming a silent communion with the intelligence of life. The body, often forgotten in the noise of the day, begins to remember its original language. It does not speak in words but in rhythm, in heartbeat, in temperature, in the subtle pulse that moves beneath the skin. And when it is spoken to gently, through ritual and faith, it listens, it responds. Those who have practiced this nightly act often describe a strange yet profound shift, the sensation of warmth in the chest, a tingling in the fingertips, a wave of calm descending through the spine. These are not illusions. They are the language of transformation, the subtle movements of energy realigning itself. The body, once fragmented by stress and thought, begins to unify again. In this unity, something extraordinary happens. The organs, long burdened by emotion, begin to lighten. The liver, the keeper of anger, releases its grip. The heart, the guardian of love, expands. The skin, the boundary between the self and the world, softens. The body remembers it is not an isolated vessel, but part of a greater whole, a living reflection of the cosmos itself. Modern science might describe this as parasympathetic activation, improved circulation, balanced pH. But beneath those terms lies a far deeper truth. The moment you return to peace, every cell mirrors that peace. Frequency follows consciousness, matter follows emotion. Healing is not something that happens to you. It happens through you. There is a story from Tibet of a man who suffered for years from a mysterious illness. He traveled from monastery to monastery seeking a cure. Every healer gave him herbs, tonics, blessings, yet nothing changed. Until one old hermit told him, "Your body does not need medicine, it needs permission." The man asked, "Permission for what?" The hermit smiled. "Permission to stop being at war with itself." That night the man sat in stillness, repeating a single phrase, "I am ready to be whole again." By morning something within him had shifted. The pain remained, but it no longer ruled him. In the days that followed, it dissolved completely. The old hermit's words echo the core of the night ritual. Healing is not the removal of pain, but the remembrance of harmony. The body is not an enemy to be conquered. It is a temple asking for reverence. As the night deepens, the transformation continues quietly. The heart beats in sacred rhythm. The mind begins to drift. The body enters the twilight between wakefulness and dream, the realm the ancients called the in-between, where the conscious and the divine meet. It is here that the ritual reaches its power. In the in-between, the veil between the physical and the unseen grows thin. Dreams become messages. Intuition sharpens. The body's frequency rises, aligning with what mystics called the music of the spheres, the vibrational harmony that connects all life. The ancient Persians believed that during this time, divine energies, which they named Fa, descend from the heavens to renew the faithful. The wise sleep in radiance, one old text says, for they have cleansed their hearts before closing their eyes. Imagine your own body now, glowing faintly in that radiance. The blood flows like liquid light. The breath hums softly through every cell. Each inhale carries energy inward. Each exhale releases what no longer serves. The nervous system relaxes. The muscles, which carry the stories of a lifetime, begin to release their memory. This is the alchemy of surrender, where rest becomes transformation. In many ancient schools, the elders taught that aging was not a disease, but an imbalance between light and heaviness. As we move through life, we accumulate density, physical, emotional, spiritual. Grief, fear, unspoken regrets, they weigh upon the organs like stones. But when we honor the night, when we cleanse with intention, we release that weight. The body grows light again. The energy that once sustained youth returns, not as vanity but as vitality, the quiet strength that glows from within. Transformation does not shout, it whispers. It comes in small shifts, softer mornings, calmer thoughts, deeper sleep. The face begins to reflect serenity rather than fatigue. The eyes grow clearer, as if washed by inner water. People might not know why, but they will sense something different, presence. In ancient China, this state was called Jingsheng, the spirit of tranquility that nourishes life. The masters said that one who preserves Jingsheng becomes like still water, calm, reflective, yet powerful enough to shape stone. The night ritual was their way of preserving this essence. Guard your nights, they warned, for they guard your years. Every night, The world offers you the same choice, to fall into restless sleep or to step into sacred renewal, to drift unconsciously or to transform intentionally. Those who choose the latter awaken not only rested but restored, as if the night itself had whispered secrets into their cells. And perhaps it has, for the night is not empty, it is alive with invisible intelligence. The air thickens with unseen energy. The earth emits low frequencies that synchronize with the human heart. The stars pulse in patterns that subtly influence our internal clocks. Every force in creation conspires to guide the body back to balance, if only we allow it. You see, the ritual is not about salt or water or lemon alone. It is about re-entering communion with the intelligence that moves through all things. To touch water is to touch the memory of the earth. To taste salt is to taste the ocean within your veins. To breathe slowly is to remember that you are both the observer and the observed, both the prayer and the one being prayed for. Transformation is not external, it is a remembering. It is the soul turning inward and saying, I am still here, I have never left. And when that remembrance anchors deeply within you, the body obeys. It begins to restore itself in ways science cannot fully explain. Hormones balance, inflammation subsides, sleep deepens, energy returns. But beyond all of this, a new kind of clarity arises, a luminous calm that lingers through the day. Those who experience this change often describe it as a kind of rebirth, not the fire of youth, but the light of wisdom. The difference between those who merely age and those who evolve lies in how they honor the night. The former fear the dark. The latter understand that in darkness lies the seed of renewal. The transformation of the night ritual is the transformation of relationship, between you and your body, between you and life itself. When you treat your body as a living temple, it begins to act like one, strong, balanced, radiant. The organs align with rhythm. The breath synchronizes with the pulse of the earth. And for the first time in years, you may feel what you once did as a child, that effortless aliveness, that innocent harmony with existence. There is no greater medicine than that. And as you lie in bed, the light dim, the air cool, the heart steady, you begin to sense it, a presence, not outside but within. The intelligence that designed galaxies, that orchestrated the rise and fall of civilizations, that breathes through forests and oceans, is breathing through you. You are not separate from the divine. You are its living expression. The transformation is complete when you no longer seek healing as something apart from yourself. When you realize that every night, the same force that renews the stars also renews you. The night is not your enemy. It is your healer. There comes a sacred threshold where transformation turns into awakening, when what once felt like ritual begins to feel like revelation. You no longer perform the night ritual as a practice. You become it. Each movement, each breath, each sip of water becomes a form of prayer. The separation between what is physical and what is divine dissolves, and you begin to perceive the hidden architecture of life itself, how every element, every cell, every vibration is guided by one single intelligence that has no name and yet answers to all. As the years pass and the body changes, you begin to realize that this intelligence has never abandoned you. It speaks not in language, but in sensation, in the rhythm of your heart, in the pulse that ripples through your veins, in the quiet intuition that arises in silence. You start to feel it most at night, when the world grows still and you return to the same darkness from which all light is born. It is here, in this sacred silence, that awakening happens, not as an explosion but as a remembrance. The ancients believed that awakening was not reserved for saints or mystics. It was the destiny of every human who remembered the sacred connection between matter and spirit. In their teachings, they spoke of the great pulse, an invisible current flowing through all creation. To live in harmony with this current was to live in health, peace, and light. To resist it was to fall into suffering, fatigue, and confusion. The night ritual was their way of realigning with this pulse. They said that when one enters sleep in gratitude and purity, the spirit leaves the body gently, travels upon the current, and returns at dawn, replenished with divine wisdom. Imagine that now. The body resting, motionless, and yet within it, billions of cells shimmering with light, each one attuned to a rhythm older than time. The breath moves softly, like the tide upon the shore. The water within your body listens to the moon's pull. The heart, surrounded by darkness, beats like a sun. And within that sun, within the heart, a door opens. It is the same door spoken of in every sacred text, though given different names. The gate of heaven, the lotus of the heart, the inner sanctuary. When that door opens, something subtle yet profound occurs. You begin to perceive that the divine has never been outside you. It has always lived in the rhythm of your being. Every organ, every cell, every pulse of blood is a note in the great song of creation. You are not merely alive, you are life itself, observing its own mystery. The great sages taught that to awaken is to see unity in all things. The salt that dissolves in water is no different from the tears that fall in prayer. The breath that leaves your lungs is the same air that feeds the trees. The warmth that rises from your skin is borrowed sunlight. When you truly understand this, the illusion of separation falls away, and the entire world becomes your reflection. This understanding is not merely poetic, it is energetic. Quantum physics now hints at what the mystics always knew, that observation changes matter, that consciousness shapes reality. Every intention you hold, every thought you think before sleep, sends ripples through the unseen field that governs all physical form. The monks of the high Himalayas understood this long before science gave it a name. The body, they said, is the echo of the mind. To change one, you must bless the other. And so their nightly blessing was not superstition, but science in its purest form, the science of harmony. They would place their palms over the heart, breathe deeply and whisper to their bodies, "You are loved, you are light, you are free." They believed that these words were not mere sound, but frequency, vibrations that instructed the cells to reorganize, to repair, to glow with vitality. Modern research calls this self-directed neuroplasticity or psychoneuroimmunology. Yet long before laboratories existed, the ancients already practiced it as prayer. They knew that the immune system responds to emotion, that the body obeys belief. When you look into a mirror and see fatigue, it is not only the body that is tired, it is the spirit longing to be seen again. The night ritual is the act of seeing yourself with sacred eyes. Through awakening, you begin to understand that healing is not a destination, it is an eternal unfolding. You do not arrive at it once, you live within it continuously. Each night becomes a new chapter in this unfolding. Some nights you release, others you receive. Some nights you are the seeker, others the found. But in all nights you are the divine in motion, the silent witness of its own creation. In this awareness, age becomes an illusion. The body may wrinkle, but the essence remains untouched. The flame within does not dim with time. It grows more refined, more luminous. The elders of old were not revered because of the years they carried, but because of the light they emitted, a soft, steady radiance that spoke of inner alignment. They had walked through pain and loss, yet they carried peace like a mantle. That peace came from the nightly act of returning to their source. There is an ancient Sumerian proverb, carved into stone, "He who honors the night walks with the gods." It means that those who respect the stillness of darkness come to understand the sacred order of things. In darkness the seed germinates. In darkness the stars are born. In darkness the spirit remembers. That is why the wise did not fear night, they revered it. They saw in it the mirror of their own depths. The awakening deepens when you realize that every ritual you perform is not just for the body, but for the world. When you bless the water before bed, you are not only cleansing yourself, you are blessing the entire ocean from which that water came. When you breathe calmly, you calm the collective breath of humanity. When you choose peace, you contribute to the great balance of life. This understanding transforms the ordinary into the sacred. The cup on your bedside table becomes a chalice. The act of washing your hands becomes baptism. The air entering your lungs becomes spirit made tangible. You begin to walk through life as though everything were holy, because it is. In this awakened state, you begin to feel time differently. Nights no longer feel like endings, but portals. Sleep no longer feels like escape, but communion. You no longer count the years of your life, you count the moments of stillness that connect you to eternity. You sense the same intelligence that guides the planets moving through you, whispering through intuition, guiding your choices, arranging synchronicities so subtle that only a quiet mind can perceive them. This is the realm the mystics called the river beneath all rivers, the flow of divine will that carries every being toward its rightful place. The more you align with it, the less effort you require. Health arises naturally, clarity follows, fear fades. You begin to live not by reaction, but by resonance. To awaken is to realize that you are the medicine you have been seeking. The prayer, the light, the salt, the water, all these are reflections of what already lives within you. When you drink the water, it is your own essence you are returning to. When you cleanse your body, you are cleansing the window through which your soul shines. When you lie down to sleep, you are resting not in darkness, but in the womb of divine renewal. There is a subtle sweetness in this realization, a peace that words cannot describe. It is the peace that comes when the mind stops striving and the heart begins to trust. It is the peace that transforms every act into devotion. You no longer need to seek proof, you feel it, in the warmth of your palms, in the stillness of your breath, in the rhythm of your pulse, aligning with the rhythm of creation. The great paradox of awakening is that it changes everything and yet nothing. The world remains as it is, the same water, the same moon, the same breath. But you see it differently. The same glass of water you once saw as ordinary now glows with sacred memory. The same darkness you once feared now feels like the embrace of eternity. The same aging body you once judged becomes the temple through which the divine experiences itself. The elders of every faith understood this. That is why they smiled when others feared death. They knew that death was not an ending, but a return to the great current they had touched each night in prayer. They had practiced letting go so completely that when the final release came, it was simply another breath in the rhythm of infinity. To awaken is to live in this understanding even now, to move through the world with soft strength, unshaken by chaos, illuminated from within. It is to know that every night you are reborn, every dawn you rise renewed, every breath you take is a communion with the eternal. So when you perform your ritual tonight, when you lift the cup of water to your lips, when you feel the salt upon your skin, when you whisper words of gratitude into the dark, know that you are not performing an act of superstition. You are reenacting the oldest ceremony in existence, the reunion between creation and its creator. You are both, and as you close your eyes, as the breath softens, as the body yields to the silent rhythm of the night, feel the truth that the sages carried through millennia. You are the light remembering itself through form, the infinite resting in the temporary, the divine awakening through the human. That is the purpose of every night, of every heartbeat, of every moment of stillness, to remember that what you seek has always been within you. When the journey of the night nears its end and the first breath of dawn begins to touch the horizon, there comes a silence unlike any other. It is not merely the stillness of morning. It is the pause between two worlds, the moment when darkness and light exchange secrets. This silence holds within it the entire memory of your night, the prayers whispered into the water, the breath that released your burdens, the unseen currents that moved through your sleeping body. It is a silence that listens. It is a silence that answers. The old mystics used to rise at this hour, long before the first bird sang. They said the world was most transparent then, the veil between the visible and the invisible thinned by gratitude. Their faces, lined with time and devotion, turned toward the faint glow of the east, not to worship the sun itself, but to honor what it symbolized, renewal, the beginning again, the reminder that no matter what age the body carries, the soul is always young at dawn. You feel that same truth stirring now. Somewhere inside, beneath the quiet hum of waking organs, beneath the rhythm of blood finding its morning pace, something ancient whispers, "I am still here." It is the same whisper that echoed through the temples of Egypt, the caves of Tibet, the deserts of Judea. It is the voice of life itself, gently calling you back into awareness. And as you rise from the bed, you understand what the night has given you. Not just rest, not just the easing of fatigue, but a subtle reordering of your being. You have not merely slept, you have been renewed. The weight that clung to your chest the day before feels lighter, the eyes see more clearly, the breath flows more deeply. There is no visible miracle, and yet everything feels like one. This is how the divine works, and quietly, consistently, through every element you once thought ordinary. In that quiet recognition, you remember the rhythm that now lives within you. Inhale light, exhale gratitude. Drink water, whisper peace. Touch salt, release the day. It no longer feels like a ritual to follow. It feels like the body's natural song. The separation between spiritual practice and daily life dissolves. The sacred is no longer something you visit. It is something you inhabit. And this is the hidden purpose of the night ritual, not merely to heal the body, but to remind you that your life is itself a prayer. Every gesture, every thought, every word is a vibration that ripples into the great fabric of existence. When you choose peace, you bless not only yourself, but all who share the same air, the same water, the same sun. It is said in the old Sanskrit texts that when a person purifies themselves through nightly devotion, they become a lamp unto the unseen. They emit a frequency of calm that radiates into their surroundings, soothing the invisible tensions of the world. The monks of Mount Koya called this the silent work of light. No one sees it, no one applauds it, and yet it holds the world together. You begin to understand that your nightly ritual has joined you to that invisible brotherhood of lightkeepers, the countless souls throughout time who, in their solitude, prayed for the healing of all things. The woman who lit her candle in a small stone church, the elder who whispered over a bowl of water beneath the stars, the hermit who greeted the dawn in silence, trusting that peace in one heart could echo across the world. You are part of them now. The ritual was never yours alone. It was always collective, always universal. As you move through the morning, the air feels different. Every sound, the kettle boiling, the distant birds, the pulse of your own footsteps, carries the echo of harmony. You realize that the world outside reflects the world within. The more peace you cultivate inside, the more peace you perceive around you. Even the imperfections of life, the noise, the uncertainty, the passing aches, seem softened by a quiet knowing that beneath all appearances, there is order, beauty, and love. The transformation of the night has become the awakening of the day. The energy that flowed through you as you slept now extends outward, into your gestures, your words, your choices. The same intelligence that healed you while you rested now guides you while you move. Every sip of water, every breath of air feels like communion. You begin to live as the ancients lived, aware that every moment is sacred, that every act is part of the great ceremony of existence. And yet, amidst this awakening, a profound humility arises. You realize that you are not the source of the light, only its vessel. The power that restores your cells, that beats your heart, that stirs the oceans and turns the planets, is not yours to command. It is yours to honor. Gratitude becomes your language, not the gratitude of words, but of being, the silent appreciation that fills the body like sunlight fills the dawn. You stand at your window and feel the warmth touch your face. You close your eyes and breathe. In that breath you sense the full circle of your journey, from curiosity to revelation, from transformation to awakening, and now to reflection. You see that nothing was wasted. Every moment of fatigue, every night of restlessness, every quiet prayer whispered into darkness was part of the same unfolding, the slow remembering of who you are. You are not a body struggling against time. You are not a soul trapped in matter. You are the meeting point between heaven and earth, the consciousness through which the divine experiences itself in form. When you live with that awareness, every night becomes a return to eternity, and every dawn a rebirth into grace. The great mystic Hildegard of Bingen once wrote that the human being is a spark of the divine fire trapped in clay. The clay may age, but the fire does not. The night ritual is the act of tending that inner fire, of giving it air through breath, water through gratitude, and space through silence. As long as that fire burns, the spirit remains ageless. Now you understand why the elders smiled as they grew older. They were not defying age, they were transcending it. To them, wrinkles were not signs of loss, but records of devotion, the script of time written upon skin that had loved, laughed, and prayed deeply. They knew that the body was not meant to be preserved forever. It was meant to be illuminated. And illumination comes not from youth, but from peace. You feel that peace now, a stillness so profound that even the noise of the world cannot disturb it. You understand that this peace was always available, waiting beneath the clutter of thought and the weight of years. The ritual did not create it, it simply revealed it. Like polishing a mirror, it removed the dust that had gathered over the soul. What shines back at you now is what was always there, your original light. There is a passage from the Tao Te Ching that says, "Returning is the motion of the Tao." The ancients knew that all of life moves in cycles, expansion and contraction, birth and death, light and darkness. To resist these cycles is to suffer. To flow with them is to find peace. The night ritual teaches this by example. Every night you release, every morning you receive, every breath you let go, every heartbeat you accept. Healing, it turns out, is simply learning to flow again. As the sun rises higher, the world begins to stir. Traffic hums, voices call, clocks resume their rhythm. Yet within you, the night silence remains. It is not disturbed by sound. It vibrates beneath it, like the deep note that supports all music. You carry that silence with you into the day, and in doing so, you carry the sacred. There is no need to announce this change, no need to preach or persuade. True transformation is quiet, it does not seek attention, it radiates naturally. Those who meet you may notice it without understanding why. The calm in your eyes, the warmth in your tone, the unshakable ease in your presence. You have become what the ancients called a bearer of stillness. And so the cycle continues. Tonight, you will once again prepare your bowl of water, add a pinch of salt, breathe deeply, and return to the sacred rhythm. Not because you must, but because your soul delights in it. Because somewhere within, you have remembered what the elders always knew, that healing is not a destination, but a way of living. When you close your eyes tonight, you will not be escaping the world. You will be rejoining it, through the unseen rivers that flow between all hearts, all breaths, all dreams. You will rest in the same current that moves through stars and oceans, knowing that you are both the traveler and the tide. And in that quiet, as the night wraps its arms around you once more, you will hear it, that soft, eternal whisper. You are home.